Hey everyone, I'm Coach Chippys and I've been a professional top laner or head coach for the past 8 years. During this time, I've reached Worlds and MSI multiple times. Now, I'm a full-time coach with a ton of passion towards helping players unlock their potential and climb to their dream rank. Today we're going to be covering everything you need to know to adapt a high level of mastery on Renekton. And I guarantee you that if you take at least half of these things with you into your solo queue games, you'll be climbing in no time. So let's get started. Let's get it started with the rune pages. Now the runes are extremely easy on Renekton, so you don't need to think too hard about it, but there are some optimizations we can go through that'll increase your chances of getting a lead in your lanes. Now Renekton has two rune pages to choose from, the two being Conqueror and PTA. Now, I do recommend taking Conqueror for the majority of your games as it's a lot stronger and the carry potential is higher, but you can take PTA if you need it in some hard range matchups. So we'll start with Conqueror. You'll take Triumph, no matter what, it's the best of the three. And then you have to decide between Alacrity and Tenacity, so you'll be taking Tenacity versus high crowd control comps. But other than that, I'll take Alacrity in the majority of the games because the attack speed you gain from it is really nice for comboing and stacking Fury. And for the last rune on this page, you'll be taking Last Stand, as the value you get from this rune will hard outweigh the other three 99% of your games, in my opinion. And for the second tree, Resolve, I want to see you take Demolish every game. Now, I do see some people take Overgrowth and stuff, but I hate that because personally, if you're playing Renekton and you don't have Demolish, you have the wrong mentality. This rune is for dominating your lane, right? If they're not letting you solo kill them, or even if you are killing them, you want to be blowing up that first tower and getting as many plates as you can, and Demolish helps you with that a lot more than getting max HP or some tenacity. I think that those other runes are just useless compared to the power Demolish can give you on this champion. And for the second rune in the green tree, you just decide between Bone Plating or Second Wind. So Bone Plating if they can't pop it and they're a melee range champion like Jax or Riven, and Second Wind if they're range champion with some poke. Now we're going to be moving on to the PTA page. Now the secondary runes in this page are the same as the first, just take Bone Plating if you need it, Tenacity if you need it, it's pretty straightforward. However, the conditions for taking this keystone over Conqueror are very unique, and it's a good reason why you probably won't see it or won't take it in the majority of your games, but the times you do need it, it can be very impactful. And the times where it is good are versus range champions that won't let you take very extended trades, such as Quinn, Kennen, Akshan, Vayne, champs like this, where they have a lot of peel and mobility that it's hard to stack your Conquer on them. And the extra damage you get from PTA can be the difference between winning or losing these lanes. I do want to add on, however, that if you were to take this rune page, you should be very confident in your Fury management, because there's a huge difference between doing a non-empowered W, which is 2 auto attacks, and them able to peel you off, and getting all 3 autos off with the empowered W, which instantly procs PTA, and makes your trade almost a guaranteed victory. That if your Fury management's not confident, if you're doing too many double dashing or wasting your Q when you have 50 Fury, that it's not worth taking this page, because if you're to verse Quinn, for example, dash onto him, hit him with the non-empowered W, he can kick you in the head, bounce you off him before you get your third auto off, which makes this page almost useless. So before you run this page at all, you should work on your Fury management in a few Conqueror games for sure. Up next we have Summoner Spells, which similar to the rune pages is pretty straightforward, which is good because that means there's not too much to think about in terms of your setup, and you can use all that thought to how you want to win your matchup. So we'll go through when to take which Summoner Spell now. For your first spell, the one you'll be taking every game, we have Flash. Now, you all know what Flash does. I don't need to go too far into it, but this is a staple spell on Renekton, so you should be taking this one every game. Now you have the choice between TP and Ignite. Now, if you've watched any pro games at all, you probably see the Renekton just takes Teleport every time. But I don't want you to do this. I want you to know when it's good and when it's bad to take each one, because there's so much value you can gain from Ignite as long as you know when it's good and when it's bad. So the first concept you need to keep in mind before deciding is, do I get push in my matchup 1 to 3? And if the answer is no, you should never take Ignite, because you might find yourself pinned under tower, they base, they TP back, they've got item advantage, they've pinned you again, and the only way you can get back to lane is being rescued by your jungler, which is just not reliable. He might want to play bot side, so if you can't get push in your matchup, just take teleport. And the second variable you need to keep in mind before deciding is, does the kill threat of Ignite make the enemy champion less valuable? So to dive deeper into that, it's if you're versus a champion that solo killing them with the Ignite, or the threat of the solo kill making them play more respectfully, is going to make them less valuable. So a good example would be Fiora, Jax, Olaf, where these champions, they need to get ahead, well, they're not going to be that valuable. And the extra damage and healing cut from Ignite is valuable in the all-ins. And they want to side lane as soon as lane phase is done, where they're versus an Ignite Renekton who should be ahead if you played your lane well. They're not going to be getting anything done in the side lane, which makes their champion less valuable than yours. But if you were to verse, say, an Ornn or a Gragas, they don't care if they die to your Ignite as long as they're able to group with their team and be a frontline and hard engage, right? They don't care if they get solo killed. They don't care that you do extra damage in side lane. They're going to do their job regardless of what spell you take, and you can win the lane without Ignite. So before you decide what spell to take, make sure you keep these two key factors in mind, and it should give you a lot of benefit in your games. Okay, up next we have item builds. Now, if you're just learning Renekton and you don't want to be overwhelmed by all the choices, you can just go the most standard build, which is Goredrinker, Boots, Black Cleaver, Steeraxe. And this build in any game you play will give you value. However, if you're really trying to refine your Renekton and optimize when to buy which item, we'll go through all of them together and it can really help you start to perfect your build. Okay, we'll start with first items. And for your first choice, you have Goredrinker, where the more melees they have, the more value you're going to get out of this item, and it's really the stock and standard choice for Renekton. And the second choice being Stridebreaker, where you'd only buy this item if you were to verse a ranged champion in lane that's going to kite you if you don't have this. So a good example of this is Jace, Teemo, Cannon, champs like that, where they have some form of escape, but if you have Stridebreaker and your E and your W, you can really stay on them permanently. And for the final item, Bork, this item is extremely risky, so I wouldn't buy it that often. But the times where it's best is when you're versus a carry champion that you can beat them in a 1v1 if you have this item, and you can't if you don't. So some examples of this are Fiora or Darius, where they're going to be pushing you in the side lane. And if you have the Bork, you have a lot of kill threat on them 1v1. Whereas if you had Gore or Stride, they would most likely beat you, unless you're super fit. So I would go Bork in those scenarios. However, for the most part, and even if you're fed against these champions, you can still build Goredrinker because it's more of a consistent choice across all of your games. Okay, for boots, you're going to be building Merc Treads in games where they have a lot of crowd control and magic damage, and you're going to be building the Ninja Tabby when they're primarily physical damage. However, for the cooldown boots, the times you buy this are very niche, however it can have a lot of impact in the sense of, if you were to base with, let's say, 1750 gold, and you're able to completely finish your Goredrinker and buy the cooldown boots. But if you were to try, say, get tabbies, you'd be building Goredrinker and cloth armor. You're not going to be as strong on this spike, and especially if there's an upcoming Herald fight or Dragon team fight, you want to be as strong as possible in this moment because Renekton really spikes hard at his first item, and that's where you want to be having the highest impact in your game. So if you're to base on enough money for your mythic and your cooldown boots, I'd recommend it 9 times out of 10. Now for second item, you see I've got the note there that if you build Bork first, you have to go your mythic second. And that's because you really don't want to be stuck with Bork Black Cleaver and not getting your mythic till 25-30 minutes in the game. And if you're building, normally, if you're building a mythic first, then you're going to be choosing either Black Cleaver or Steeraxe second. And you'll only go the Steeraxe in games where you need the extra tankiness. If you don't need to be tankier straight away, and if you're doing well in the game, then Black Cleaver will be the more consistent choice 9 times out of 10. Now for your third item, it gets a bit more tricky. As you can see, there's quite a lot of choices there, but don't worry, I got you. So for the most part, for your third item, you'll be building either Steeraxe or GA, just because in the majority of your games, these items will have the most value, and they're very consistent in what they offer you, that it doesn't really matter what they have. However, if they do have a lot of magic damage, you will need to choose between Maw or Stoneplate. Now the factor between deciding which one is, do you have someone on your team that's helping you do damage? Do you have someone that's playing well, someone that's strong? And if you do, you can go the Stoneplate and be more of a frontline for them. However, if you're the only one pulling their weight in the game, then Maw is just better. Now for Shiralda's Grudge, this item feels really good when it's good and really bad when it's bad. So the times where it's good is when you're versus tanky comps and you haven't got Black Cleaver yet. So for example, you've gone Bork Goredrinker or Goredrinker Steeraxe and they've got quite a tanky comp and you don't need magic resist straight away, then Shiralda's is really good because it's going to give you a lot of damage, and something cool about it is it makes your ultimate and AoE slow, which gives you a lot more utility in these fights. Your ulti and your Q just slowing everybody can lead to a lot more kills. And the final item, Death Dance, you'll basically only buy it when you need armor, and you're not going to die, right? The GA will revive you, but if you're never getting put on 0 HP, it's useless. So if you're just dominating 7-0, need armor, then Death Dance will be the choice. Now, if you're a type of player that struggles deciding what to buy in the game, I've got some good examples here of full item builds on Renekton that will give you value in any game you're in. However, I will say as you get more comfortable in Renekton, as you start getting 10, 15, 20 games in, you should be experimenting with the items we talked about earlier and really figuring out when it's best to buy each one. Alright, now we're moving on to combos, and we'll start with the easy combos, with the first one being the fact that your W is an auto attack reset. So I'll show you here, auto W. This cancels the auto attack animation and makes your DPS overall higher and your combos more smooth. And taking this to the next level where your W cancels your auto and your ultimate cancels your W. So if you do all three of them together, it looks like this. Auto WR. You cancel the auto animation and the W animation and got all three of your spells off really smoothly. Up next is similar, where you can cancel your auto attack animation with your Q as well. So I'll show you here. Auto Q. Pretty straightforward. For the final easy combo, you're going to have either Iron Spike Whip, Gore Drinker, or Stride Breaker. And these items can be used to cancel your W animation. So I'll show you here. Auto W Gore. Now you cancel your auto animation with the W and your W with the active item. And it gets all of your damage off a lot more smooth. Leveling up to the medium combos, the first one is a trading combo in lane, where it goes like this. E, A, W, Q, auto E. And use the E to either dash through them and chase them down, or E away and finish the trade. Up next we have the face check combo. Now this is a high damage combo because you don't have to waste your time Eing onto them if they're face checking you. And it goes like this. Auto WRE, auto QE. Now if they are face checking you and you see it from a while away, let's say they're here for example, you want to be starting ulting early because you want to be getting as much fury as you can before they check you. But if they check you suddenly, then you can always cancel your W animation with the R. Up next we have the hard Renekton combo. Now the main point of this combo is to one-shot someone on the backline as fast as you can. And the best way to pull that off is to animation cancel a lot of your abilities. So I'll show you a good example. You want to start with Flash WR, Gore Drinker, Auto EQ, Auto E. Now you notice I cancelled my W animation with the ulti and my ulti animation with Gore Drinker, which leads to me getting an extra auto attack off before I choose my next spell. Now I used E in this example because it's just one opponent, but if you were to verse, let's say 3 opponents, you might want to choose Q so you can get your Q off on all of them and give yourself extra healing, but if you're just trying to kill a single player, then you should be using your E first because it's a lot smoother and makes the combo a lot cleaner overall. Up next we have the most fun part, the laning phase. Now Renekton has an extremely powerful laning phase, and there are some concepts I can teach you that will help you win your lane in a lot of your games. So warding level 1, pretty standard. Now, the only reason I started W in this game, by the way, is because we invaded, but in this matchup it doesn't matter. For the most part, you should be skilling Q level 1, however. But luckily I'm versus Ornn, so I'm not punished. Now, you notice this is the first wave, so when he goes for a CS, I'm going to be looking to get behind him and punish him, especially this one here. Any melee creep, particularly. So I can get behind him, auto W, the cancel we talked about before. And even though the trade looks pretty even, I'm pushing, so it's more favorable for me. And I'm Renekton, I'm more sustained than him. And now that I'm on wave 2, I don't want to be playing too aggressively, because if I were to Q him and all these minions, there's a good chance the wave actually hits tower and he can farm the second wave without me trading on him. So around wave 2, I hold it back a bit, unless you can get an extremely good trade. You want to save the majority of your trading, your dash trading, for wave 3, like I do here. Now, the trade doesn't look that good because I've got Thorin's Blade, but the reason it's fine is because if he doesn't give me an opportunity to punish him, I'm going to base after this wave anyway. However, in this case, I'm playing the way I just spoke about, hard trading on wave 3, and it leads to a nice solo kill. Now, the main reason I got this kill is not because I traded super well, you saw I was low HP, like lower than him, but because I knew when to trade. I've hard punished on wave 1 and wave 3, and I didn't allow my spells to crash wave 2 prematurely. And then that means my wave was not under his tower. So I was able to get my full combo off when he's a few steps out of tower and then just flash to finish off the kill. So the main concept I want you to take away is try to avoid crashing wave 2 unless it's an extremely good trade to the point where it doesn't matter if it crashes. Next I have another example from my games, and I really like this example because I'm in the same matchup. I'm versus Ornn. However, this guy plays it a lot better than the previous Ornn and doesn't let me solo kill him straight away. So I use my Renekton knowledge that I'm going to teach you now to gain an advantage without killing him at all, and you'll see how. So as we talked about earlier, it's wave 1, so I can trade aggressively. But now wave 2 is coming. Don't know what happened to this wave, where are those casters coming? They are late. But for the most part, yeah, I traded hard on wave 1. And I'm holding my load on wave 2 because I don't want this wave to crash way too fast. So even though I could dash on him here, it would compromise the integrity of my wave, and I do not want to do that. So I'm playing it chill until wave 3 arrives, which should be right now. And now my wave's here, I play as aggressively as possible, hitting him and all the creeps as much as I can. You also don't want to push this wave too slowly because then it can be awkward with jungle timings. But for the most part, as long as you crash wave 3, you are happy. And now, I can't dive him, my jungler's bot side, so I choose to take the plate, which is optional. But the main point of this is you want to be proxying this wave 4 behind his tower. Now, proxying is extremely OP because, one, you're going to get a faster base if you declare the wave here instead of waiting an extra 10-20 seconds for it to come to your lane. If you clear it here in base, your tempo is much higher. But two, a lot of people don't know how to deal with it. Like this guy here, he's chasing me down the lane. And look at his tower on the minimap. It's just killing all his creeps. He's losing so much experience and gold. And he might have think he did good trading flashes with me, but he just lost so much XP and gold. It's basically like I solo killed him without actually touching his champion because he just didn't know how to deal with it. And the majority of top laners you verse in your games will not know how to deal with it either. So if you can apply this, it's extremely powerful. But you do need to keep in mind you can get ganked doing that, right? The only reason I was able to pull it off is because I saw Unleashed, which means on that timer, the enemy jungler is bot side, and I have no fear of dying to him. So now I've got a nice freeze because you proxy. Another advantage you gain for proxying is the wave will start pushing back to you, and you're able to freeze it here. And being able to freeze on Renekton is extremely strong because not many champions can beat you at this point, level 3, level 4. You're just very powerful. And also, my jungle was bot side earlier, and now he's top just in time for this freeze, so this Ornn should be extremely scared. So I'll skip ahead a little bit. So he's trying to get this wave in, and I'm just refusing to let him because I'm stronger, I'm Renekton, and my jungler's here. So I just trade as much as I can, and eventually it leads to a gank that we pull off. Can't leave the cannon behind. And even though his jungler's here, it doesn't matter because I'm Renekton, he's Alvif, we're just way stronger. And now, just because I didn't even trade that well early, just because I knew how to utilize my waves, proxying wave 4, and he didn't. He chased me down instead of clearing his wave and basing. I was able to gain a nice advantage purely from having good wave control and understanding of my champion. Now I wanted to finish us off with an example of not a free low matchup. I'm versus Irelia in this one, not some tank. And I want to talk you through my mindset. So in this matchup, I'm trying to hit Q on her and the creeps as much as I can. I actually make a mistake here not queuing all 6 creeps, just hitting 3, but I do recover well by spacing the passive. But my main thought process in this lane, and it's the same in most matchups versus carry champions, versus Jax, Fiora, champs like that, is you want to hit level 2 as fast as you can, or they can all in you with their level 2 spike. So now that I have 2, if she were to hit 2 at the same time as me, for example, I could have dodged her E with my E or my movement. But now that I'm level 2 first, I'm not scared of her at all, and I'm able to actually dodge her stun with my movement here, and that opens up a window for an all-in. Because if I had to dodge her with my E, I'd be too far away to stick onto her, even if I had my second E. But now that I've dodged it with just moving, I can E through her twice, and it leads to a solo kill. Now, the only reason I got this kill is because I came into this lane knowing I need to get level 2 before you, and he didn't. If he knew that, he could have done much more damage to the creeps and hit level 2 same time as me, or maybe even faster, depending on how I played it. But because he didn't know that, and he just tried to hit me, I was able to win this lane. So that's a concept I want you to keep in mind when you verse all-in carry champions, that you need to be hitting level 2 first. Now we're moving on to matchups, and I won't take too long here because, to be honest, matchups are just a mindset on Renekton. You can actually win any lane if you believe you can win it. If you have the confidence, you'll win any of these lanes. However, the ones in particular I've got in the hard lane category, these champions are very hard to win early game, and you want to play for your level 6 spike. So if you were to trade level 3, for example, and die, when you're level 6, you're still going to lose out. So for those lanes, I'd recommend waiting till 6, staying high HP, and then looking to play aggressively on that timer and hope you can punish their mistakes. Moving down to the skill matchup column. Now, in my experience, the player that plays with the most confidence will win these matchups. Now, if you're just starting, I'm not saying just ego and run at them and die, right? I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying if you know what you're doing, you can win a lot of matchups where otherwise they would win if you were over-respecting. And a good example of that is the Olaf matchup, where If you'd respect him level 1, you're scared of him chasing you down the lane. He'll get push, he'll stay high HP, and he'll have control of the lane. But if you were to start Doran's Blade, take Ignite, and Q him and all of the creeps and play quite aggressively, if you're able to dodge any of his Qs, you have control of the lane, you've won the lane. Now he'll be stuck under his tower, scared of your Ignite threat, and you'll have complete dominance in this lane that he would have if you play like a pussy level 1. So that's a good example. But for the most part in these skill matchups, it'll take reps, it'll take trial and error until you're winning them. But once you hit a nice level of mastery on Renekton, you can win any matchup in that tier list. Up next, we'll be covering team fighting. Now on Renekton, there are just two main concepts I want you to take away that'll help you in any game you play. The first one being kite in and out with your abilities. Now, a big reason this is so effective on Renekton is because he actually has 2 dashes, so it's quite easy to do that, to get into a fight and get out of a fight. So I've got a good example here of this Udyr contesting me on blue. And I use my first dash forward, get my full combo down, get a nice little chunk, and then dash out because my team's not close enough to follow up. And now, because I've done that, his team actually engages onto me, and now my spells are back off cooldown, so I can re-engage again. Now, if I were to just double dash in at the start of this play, I would have died 100% or baited my team. And if I were to do nothing, not dash in at all, there's a very good chance they don't get baited in here and we don't get this ace. Another example from that concept is here, where I use all my abilities at the start of the fight, get my combo down, burn the Zhonya's, and now I'm kiting out, waiting for my next round of spells. And now as soon as they're back up, I re-engage again and give my team a big chance to catch up, and I'm able to carry the fight just from playing around my cooldowns. And the second concept you need to know is when to hold your abilities to put pressure on the opponent. Now, in this point in the game, it's 40 minutes, my champ's fallen off, so my new job becomes, okay, I can no longer one-shot anybody, I want to be putting pressure on them to stop them from doing their job. So here's an example of, I pop ult early. This is another thing you need to be doing on Renekton, is ulting before the fight starts to stack your fury. But anyway, I pop my ulti, and now this enemy Syndra is extremely fed, and she has Zhonya's, Soraka healing, Lee Sin peel. There's no shot I can kill her. If I were to just flash down her hair, I would die for free. So my new job becomes pressuring her, which I'm doing here. I'm baiting out her spells. Obviously it'd be nice if I could dodge more, but you know, can't dodge them all. So now I'm just completely blocking her from entering the fight and one-shotting my teammates. This full build Syndra, like, fed at 40 minutes into the game. Because I am just positioned here and not using anything, she can't kill anyone on my team, and this helps my team have a higher odds of winning the fight. Up next, we're just going to go through a full game example so I can talk you through my mindset throughout the game and hopefully clear up any uncertainties you have at various stages of the game. But for now, we're up against Aatrox, and I know I get pushed in this matchup because my Q cooldown's way shorter than him. And if he were to Q all the creeps for some reason, then I would just trade on him really aggressively. So far so good. I popped his bone plating. And now that wave 2's in, I'm thinking I don't want to Q too many creeps because I don't want this wave to crash under tower. But I'm not going to shy away from a trade, you know, I'm not going to pussy out, so I trade on him here. And even though the trades are even so far, you need to keep in mind that even trades are good when you're getting pushed because, 1, they're scared of getting dived, and 2, you can base whenever you want if you're crashing wave 3 cleanly. But I'm waiting for wave 3 to come in before I use my E to trade because I don't want to move where the minions are. So now that wave 3's in, I aggressively trade, but he respects it, he knows this matchup well. And now I'm just thinking, okay, I want to crash wave 3 as fast as I can so I can either help Graves or start proxying. And him fogging as well puts a bit of pressure on me to push, but now we're all good. Graves is done, so I choose to proxy the wave. So now that I've proxied the wave, well, I'm proxying the wave, I want to take a base, and I know, okay, the Aatrox is low HP. When I base, I'm going to have item advantage and TP advantage. So, and the wave will be pushing back to me. So I'm in a really good state right now that's caused by this proxy. And I'm going to walk back to lane with my item advantage and trade as aggressively as possible. So now that I've got my item advantage and the wave's coming back to me due to the proxy, my thought process right now is I want to freeze this wave outside my tower and look to heavy trade on him with my item advantage. So we'll speed up the walk. I notice him trying to push in this wave as fast as he can, which is what he should do, but his champion doesn't push fast enough, which means I'm able to not pull all the creeps, but I can pull the majority of them. And you only really need 4 creeps to freeze for a wave. Obviously, if you can get 5 or 6, it's better, but there's nothing wrong with 4. As long as you have a melee creep for 3 casters, you're chilling. And now my wave state's in a really good position where I can't get ganked. He could if my jungler chose to puff up, but for the most part, this is where you want to be doing most of your trading, where you can't die at all to ganks. So I take a really bad trade, which I don't recommend, but if you do happen to take a bad trade, it's fine because you have TP advantage in this scenario, so I'm not too worried. And just because I'm low doesn't mean I need to be scared, because Renekton's still really powerful champion. And here he makes a mistake with his E, and it leads to me able to get a solo kill. Now, the only reason I was in this position to get the solo kill is because I knew how to manipulate my wave, so if he doesn't let me kill him 1 to 3, I can proxy wave 4 and set this lane state where it's very hard for him to survive a gank or avoid trading at all. Now from this point in the game, I can either walk back or TP back. Now walking back is safer most of the time because if something bad happens later on, you still have your TP, but I choose to teleport here because I want to pressure him extremely hard. I don't want to give him breathing room, I just want to keep trading on him and making him feel suffocating basically. So anyway, the lane state right now is not good for trading because it's close to his tower, so I should have let it come towards me. I make a mistake here, but the important thing is not to play perfectly on every wave, it's to realize what waves you do badly, what waves you do good, and improve so that for the most part, your waves are consistently, like how you trade around waves is consistently good. So anyway, the wave's coming back to me slowly, and I want to be trading onto him because my jungler's topside and I'm stronger than him. So that's not the best trade, but it actually doesn't matter too much on Renekton as long as you're doing damage to him. So now we're both around the same HP. I kite this out because I have no abilities, and now I really want to dive him with my jungler, but my jungler gets way too anti here. He just goes way too quick, which it's solo queue. Your junglers are gonna make mistakes. And even though we do kill him here, pretty sure I die, which is not ideal. Yeah. So if he just waited like 10 more seconds, we would have killed him cleanly and I would have gotten 2 plates, but it's solo queue. You can't rely on everyone playing well all the time, and it is fine to trade kills and have him lose this big cannon wave anyway. Now something you need to be taking away from this is every time you base or die, you need to be thinking about what is my next plan of attack. And for me in this game, my next plan is the wave's coming towards me, I'm stronger, I want to trade as aggressively as possible. However, he has ulti and I don't. So if I take a super extended all-in the middle of the lane, he'll probably win it. So I want to be trading aggressively while trying to burn his ultimate and kite it out. So I'll speed up the walk back. Here, my lane's in a good state. If I trade aggressively, no threat of dying to gank. Wait out his Qs. Pop bone plating. Now bone plating's down, I want to be trading on him. Dash through the W. Auto W. It's important when you trade to be using the Fury W for the most part, as it will stack your Conqueror basically to full. And especially if you auto W, it's 8 stacks instantly. So I've kited out his ulti, I've done my mission basically. And even though he gets the fruit, I'm going to have ulti before him, and I'm much stronger than him, so it doesn't matter that he got the fruit. I even try to cheese him here, but he respects it. He's a good man. Not bad. And now my plan is to trade on him if he lets me, and dive him if he lets me trade onto him. And if he's respecting all trades, then I'm just going to play for a tower plate. Which, look, he's 2 screens away, queuing from max range. He's just not letting me trade on him, so I have to be content with playing for tower plates. Which I do, get a plate here, get demolish, a little trade under tower. So now I've been playing extremely aggressive for a long time. I know their jungler in mid should be looking for me. That's why I'm respecting here. But just because you're respecting doesn't mean you should be playing like a complete coward sitting at your tower. You actually want them to come and waste their time. So I actually get this Ahri to come and waste her time, and I'm able to survive it. So now Ahri's wasted her time, her ulti, and Katarina's just bashing mid tower down, which the jungler has to answer. So I've helped my mid, my jungler, and my bot lane just from not super respecting that timer. And I even burn out the Aatrox ulti again. And now in return, because I help my team, they all come to help me. And it turns into a bloodbath solo queue game. Everyone diving, yeah. Gets a bit chaotic here, but for the most part, we have gained an advantage due to the way I played my early lane. Now here it gets a bit more chaotic, we start diving them, and there's one main thing I want to touch on about this point is a huge mistake I made. is after this dive, I should have been back pinging everyone to reset, because we've been making this play so long, Kai'Sa will be struggling down bot, she'll need her support, and also they all have time to come back out of base and actually counter gank this play, because we've had it going on so long that if we were to base at that timer, it'd be much better than what actually happened, where we just kept fighting, and now Kai'Sa is suffering so much just because any of us could have done it, but it's better to have full accountability in your game, so I should have called everyone to base, especially Soraka, and now I could have made Kai'Sa not suffer, and I could have stopped me dying, Graves dying. I could have prevented so many mistakes, just from shot calling that one player, but I missed the angle, I got too caught up in the fighting, and I got punished for it, right? We could have lost this game due to me not seeing that earlier. So from this point, it's the same concept as before. I need to be thinking about what I want to accomplish coming out of base. And what I want to accomplish at this point is breaking this top tower, as plating's full in 3 minutes, so I only have a couple minutes to work with. So I want to TP and get back there as fast as possible. So I TP back, and even though I just saw Echo top, I don't want to over-respect him because I'm so strong at this point that if he were to gank me, there's a good chance I can trade 1-for-1. And as long as you clear the wave as you die, they have no wave to work with. They can't play for plates or anything. So I kite them out to the wave, and I don't use my Q until I can break the whole wave and hit them. And I'm still fighting. I'm not trying to run this out. I just want to fight and waste their time as long as possible. And if they make a mistake, I'll kill them, which they do. He goes back in too early, and I'm able to kill his jungler. And now he's still solo from this fight, I can take him out as well, probably. So now, just because I knew what to do, I didn't over-respect or under-respect, I was able to play this 1v2 out and able to kill them both. So it worked out pretty well. And I didn't want to stay originally because I didn't see Ari for a second, but she appears mid. So I clear this wave and break the tower. And from this point in the game, I'm extremely rich, extremely wealthy, that my next base is extremely important. So my next base, this is where I'm at basically the strongest unit on the entire map. So I want to be getting a lot from this move. And the only objective on the map available is Rift Herald. So I run straight there. And I'm hoping a fight breaks out that I can be a part of. But even if there's not a fight, I want to be keeping top wave pushed in, because a huge mistake I see a lot of top laners do is they win their lane, they break the tower, and then they just run off somewhere. They run bot or something, and the enemy top is able to push the wave under tower and break 3 plates and basically get back into the game. But here I'm not alleviating any pressure. Even though I can't kill him here, I'm still pressure. He's low HP now. He can't do anything. And I'm going back to my wave and keeping it stuck under tower, so he stays behind. I don't want to give him any freedom, because I've won my lane. I've put in the work. I don't want to throw that all away by letting him farm for free or letting him break tower plates just because I want to run bot and try to hit someone when they can easily just walk away from me if they have eyes. But here, from this point, I want this Herald and I want to be threatening mid. So the main thing you want to be doing as Renekton in mid game is keeping your wave stuck under the tier 2 tower and threatening mid. So you play between both the lanes. You're threatening top and mid at the same time and pressuring the map as much as you can, really. So here, get the flank off. Don't want to stun the Ari because she could have flash and 3 dash charges. Until she dashes through me. And I'm able to help in this way. And now, from this point, I should be thinking, I don't want Aatrox to get the farm like we talked about before, so I should be going back top. But I noticed Katarina is dying, which means she'll come out of map faster with the home guards. So I pinged for her and I even typed to her to go top. So now I've got top covered. I'm not letting Aatrox farm for free. Katarina should be able to beat him because he's so weak. And now I'm pressuring bot and my team's mid. So we're not pressuring top, but all 3 lanes are covered based on my involvement in the game. So now from this point, I'm thinking, okay, top lane's covered. My team's playing aggressively there. I just want to break bot tower and then make sure I'm involved in whatever happens next, because I don't have TP right now. And if a fight breaks out without me, I'm pretty worried. That's why I start fogging here. But as soon as you see Xayah mid and your team top, you know there's no fight going to be breaking out top, because their bot lane is the only players that played well this game. So if they fight without Xayah, they'll probably win the fight without you as well. So as soon as I see Xayah mid, I know I can keep pushing and it's fine. But I choose to base here because 1, I've got Black Cleaver, but 2, they are extending the play, which means they're staying on the map when they should base and pushing mid. So I want to be here to punish them for it. So I come out on the map first, and before I go to side lane, even though I did say we want to be keeping the side lane pushed, you need to clean out your jungle first, because if I were to just run bot and push, there's a good chance someone dumb on my team face checks and dies. So it's always better to fully retake your jungle before you push out your side, which we do here. Now it's all watered up, our jungle's clean, no threat of my teammates dying, so I'm able to go back to bot. So now this sequence is a lot easier to play out because I have teleport and I see the Ahri base, so I just want to push as fast as possible and do the same thing I did before but flipped. I want to be pinning someone, Ahri or Aatrox, under the bot tier 2 and then threatening mid and bot at the same time, which I see a fight breaks out, so I use my track to rotate, ulti and advance to stack Fury, because it's always better to waste ulti than play out a fight with no Fury. And yeah, we're able to win the fight here. And I instantly TP back top because I don't want to break the tower for 1, and 2, I don't need a base for a long time because I've got my 2 items, and basing for, let's say, a piece of Death's Dance, like a hammer, is not necessary. As long as you're full HP on Renekton, you almost never need a base unless you have a ton of gold. But now I want to do the same thing, keep him pinned under top tier 2, and make them afraid mid. If they ever push up mid, I will flank them. If they ever push up top, I'll flank him. And if they both respect, then we eat the enemy camps and we play for Baron. But in this game, they disrespect, so I just flank them mid, like we just said. And because of this fight, we are able to get a mid inhib, which 18-minute mid inhib is very, very good. All because I played out my role, basically. I kept Aatrox pinned, he can never be a part of a fight, and I made them unable to leave mid tower. So as soon as they left mid tower, they were heavily punished for it. And if I were to just be mid and not pinning top, then Aatrox would be pushing top all the way and TPing into the fight, and it would just be not a good use of my lead. So because I've controlled this entire jungle, they feel really suffocated and they surrender the game. Alright, to finish this off, we're just going to go through some key takeaways that if you're able to burn these into your brain, it'll do a lot of good for you moving forward on your Renekton journey. Now, the first one being master all animation cancels. Now, we went through all the cancels you need to know in the combo section of the guide, and if you're just a mess around and practice tool for 10-20 minutes and get the hang of them, you'll be doing a lot better than the majority of Renektons you'll run into. Second one is hit level 2 first without crashing the second wave. Now, we went through this in the laning section of the video, where you want to hit level 2 first because in a lot of matchups, if they get 2 before you, they'll start getting push and winning the lane where you should be winning on this champion. And if you're to the reverse of that, if you're to push too fast and crash the second wave, then it will remove a big trading opportunity for you, and you'll be allowing them to CS for free under tower, which that's not what you want to do on this champion. You want to be winning these matchups. And the third one is mid game. Pin the solo laner at a tier 2 side tower and threaten mid. And we went through this in more detail in the full game review, but for the most part, you want to keep, let's say your lane opponent, the Aatrox, stuck under the tower, tier 2, and you want to be threatening the enemy champion's mid by fog of warring in the top jungle between mid and top. Now this puts pressure on the enemy top laner, puts pressure on all the people that are mid, and it really helps your team control the map. And the fourth one is just practice the team fighting concepts we went through, the 2 of them being kite in and out with abilities. You don't want to be double dashing forward and getting stuck in the middle of their team and taking damage for free. That one's pretty straightforward. And the second one is a lot harder to practice, where you want to threaten the backline without using your abilities, where let's say you're versing a Syndra, like in the example we went through before. If you're looking at him and he's not using any spells on your teammates, and you're able to dodge these spells and just make him useless at a point in the game where your champion is weaker, then you're doing more than enough. You're doing your job, and you can actually carry the fight without fully committing and trying to kill someone that you can't kill at that point in the game. Alright, we're going to wrap it up there. Now, if you stuck around this long, good job. You're more than likely going to start dominating on Renekton in your game, so look forward to that. And if there's any other champion or concept you want me to cover, let me know below, and yeah, I'll catch you next time.